Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say this week's guest is Kilmarnock boss Derek McInnes. Derek, welcome to the show. And first of all, how does it feel to be nominated for Manager of the Year?
Yeah, pleased. Obviously, I think it'd be foolish to say anything other than that. You know, I mean, I think personal awards. I don't know if you take them quite as kind of serious as you get older. You know, I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. But I think nonetheless, it is nice to be nominated. I got asked last week about my team. None of my players getting in the PFA Team of the Year, which I was a bit surprised with. And when I seen the Team of the Year, there's obviously loads of strong players in there and players that had a very good season. So I still fancy my Kilmarnock team to beat them right enough. But disappointed, more surprised that maybe one or two of my players weren't in the team. But you know, it's I think it's probably just indication of a reflection of the team, how well the club's done this season. And I think any time a manager gets recognised, whether it's a monthly award or a nomination as it is at the minute, it's normally been doing this job long enough. It means a lot of things are working right at your club. It's boardroom level, recruitment, lads who are really tight and together. And we need to be doing a lot of things right at Kilmarnock to get consistent results. So, you know, the level of performance the players have shown this season, there's normally a fallout from that and people get recognised. And it's good to see Davy in the Young Player of the Year award, and hopefully he goes on and lifts it.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. He's a young man who, I'm not sure he was similar in style to you. He's certainly in the midfield and he doesn't look out of place. How good is he? How good can he be?
No, I think that's fair comment, what he says. I think David's a wee bit, you know, it's annoyed me a wee bit that he's not been through the international setup. And he's obviously getting involved in the 19s now that he's playing first team football. And probably to a lot of the purists, he might seem he's a wee bit rough around the edges, but my God, he impressed us right from the first day we went in at Kilmarnock. He was obviously 16. We had him training with the first team from day one. He was captain of the 18s, he's captain the reserves, and he will eventually captain Kilmarnock, I'm pretty sure, if we can hold on to him. He's a boy who wears his heart on his sleeve, really. He's always ready to work, always ready to set about the task you ask of him. He's difficult to play against, which is critical as a midfielder, but he makes contact, he handles the ball well, and probably this season, and the reason why he's been nominated, I think people love to see a young player coming through, but adding goals to his game as well. You know, he's probably a bit disappointed he's maybe not get 2 or 3 more, but I think that'll be the key for him, for Davy. I think if everybody's looking for those number 8s who can go and get beyond strikers and score important goals and be the difference maker, and he scored a lot of big goals for us this season, and it says a lot for him that he's managed to secure a place in the team who have been so consistent and doing well. But I think the gauge for him where he goes on in his career will be potentially how many goals he can get in a season, you know, and he's more than capable of having a top career, and he's an absolute joy to work with. He's a wee bit the way Kieran Tierney was. I used to hear stories about Kieran Tierney with Scotland and how he was at Celtic, and always in a t-shirt, short sleeves at training, black boots, shorts on, never wearing snoods and hats and gloves and tracky bottoms, and he was always last down with the kit, helping out. I remember Gordon Marshall, when he was away with Scotland, he says, "Boy, Tierney at Celtic, he's always helping with the kit, he's always asking if he can do it." Davy Watson is that at our club. You know, he's such a popular boy, but he's backed it up with big performances this season. Not just a good lad, but a good lad who's doing well and on the right track.
You've managed Lewis Ferguson as well. This boy maybe would be looking and thinking, oh, there's a plethora of international strikers. It's such a strong area for us. But do you think any manager, whether it's a Steve Clarke or a manager of the future, will look and say, here's one that we can count on for the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we signed Fergie at Aberdeen when he was a similar age to Davy, 18, and Lewis had a brilliant mentality and mindset coming up, and it was always part of a plan for him, and he thrived on that, and you see how well he's doing. There's a lot of qualities. I think when you look at some of the better ones that we've worked with, like McKenna's and all these ones, they've all got similarities in the sense that they can handle the physical part of the game. Because sometimes you see nice little footballers and you worry about them getting exposed and kind of stretched into that kind of man's environment really, and getting pushed about a wee bit. But I think first and foremost, you know, Watson can, like Fergie, can handle the physical part of the game. But they've also got a really refreshing attitude to the game. You know, it's like youngsters, so many youngsters now are influenced by agents, girlfriends, parents, social media. It's a lot of bollocks at times, and it's just annoyance. But you've got enough boys still like Davy Watson who just want to concentrate on being better and improvement and looking to train well every day, and these boys get the reward for that.
That's brilliant you saying that, because I can remember some of the videos of a fresh-faced Derek McInnes just absolutely ripping it up at Morton. Everybody talking about, you know, Queen's Park Rangers, Chelsea, all these clubs interested in you. And then you go and join, you know, your boyhood heroes, and you've got Gascoigne, you've got McCoy, you know, you've got Durante.
You know what, there was a story where it was over the years, I had seen so many offers rejected for me from Morton. You know, with Alan, who always had a high opinion of me, and it actually went against me a wee bit because they rejected brilliant offers for me. And it got to the stage where I allowed my contract to run down, and I signed for 1 year, but it was a caveat of if a club offers X amount. And Bill McMurdo was my agent at the time, and Bill was a wily old fox, and Bill got the clause in the contract. It was quite unusual at the time, and he said any club who offers X amount, the club have got a week to negotiate a higher fee. But the decision for Derek wants to go, it's his decision.
Right.
So Morton agreed to it, really, because either that I left for nothing. And I was keen for Morton to get a fee, because they would have been brilliant for me. I've got so much to thank Morton for.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I needed to go on with my career as well and see what opportunities were there. So there was bids coming in from Ipswich, Leeds, Wimbledon at the time, Blackburn, Dundee United. Billy Kitwood offered $750,000. He'd just sold Billy McKinley to Blackburn. But the gaffer knew about the clause, clearly, and offered a penny, I think, more than the clause, which, you know, was really unfair on Morton, because it was clear that's where I wanted to go, and you know, Morton was kind of suffering a wee bit in terms of being able to get the bigger fee, but, you know, ultimately they still got a fee for me, a significant fee, and I got the move that I wanted. But as like you say, I was under no illusions how difficult it was going to be to make an impact on that Rangers team. But when Walter Smith wants to sign you, it's difficult to turn that down.
Yeah, we'll talk about Walter and your playing career shortly. You've touched in glowing praise of young David Watson, but you're being nominated for a team that has been good to watch. I mean, what is special about the team? What's been the components that you think have allowed you to have such a good season?
Well, I think we got off to the recruitment side. We kind of last season, you know, you get nominated for Manager of the Year this year, but I actually look back and think we did a lot of better work last year, but you don't always get the results as a manager. I remember Walter even saying that he gets recognised for all his trophies he won at Rangers, but I think he even said himself that keeping Everton in the Premier League was up there with the best work he ever did, but nobody's going to give you a pat on the back for that, and likewise nobody's expecting a pat on the back. But last season was so tough to keep the team in the league. We were working with a squad who gave everything, but was obviously clearly fell short in quality. We inherited a lot of players on longer term contracts, and we were trying to meet the demand of just staying in the league. And you know, this stage last year, it was still up for debate if we're going to be a Premier League team.
Yeah.
So fast forward now, the start of this season, we managed to clear the decks really, and really bring in a lot of good experienced players, but also good younger ones. And we picked and chose the 2 or 3 of the loans that we've got last year. We were far too many loans. And
yeah. Did you pick the players this season? Did you know, some people turn around and they go, oh, there's somebody with, 15 screens. They go on the scout, they look at the players, and then some people say, oh, the manager.
Well, that was me last year. That one will do.
Because it's a dying art. Does the manager look?
But this time last year, I didn't have a head of recruitment. Kilmarnock didn't have a head of recruitment in place.
Right.
and I was trying to get the guy that I've got now, Russ Richardson, who I've worked with at Bristol City, 8 years at Aberdeen, and now at Kilmarnock. You know, having that, all managers will tell you, having that trust and faith in that guy, whoever your guy is, to get suggestions to you, people in the door, guys that have got relationships with agents and clubs. We needed to build that at Kilmarnock. We needed to be more people's first call of clubs of a similar size rather than the last call, and we needed to build up those relationships. And somebody like Russ being side by side with me, really, I did say at the time he'll be my best signing, because we're all so dependent as managers on guys who are in the know, guys who have got contacts, and thankfully we managed to put a squad together. We knew what we wanted to play with. In simplistic terms, we knew we couldn't attract a 20 goal a season striker. We didn't have the money or resource to do it. So we committed to 2 strikers, and we worked from that, really. And can we get 2 strikers in double figures that would allow us to maybe be a top 6 team? And we started with the season beating Rangers. I think you get the confidence from that. And we've been very competitive throughout. I mean, even since we've come back from the winter break, we've only lost 1 game, home and away, in the league, and that was to Rangers at Rugby Park. And, you know, I think that the difference between this season and last season, we've maintained the strong home form, but I think away from home, we've been a different animal as well. But, you know, people say, sometimes I hear managers when Kilmarnock beat them, and they say, we never really dealt with the physicality, they're good at what they do, and, you know, I think that sometimes...
That piss you off?
Not so much. It kinda, I think it's an easy thing to put out there from certain people, but we commit to 2 wingers and 2 strikers. I don't see a lot of other teams doing that, you know, and I'm not wanting extra pat in the back for that, but it's not as if we're just going out and being horrible to play against and difficult to play against. If we're horrible to play against, brilliant, bring it on. That's what I want. I want that reputation. But we also have 2 brilliant ball carriers on the side, and we put more crosses in the box than anybody else. So we're good. Our fans love watching us. I love watching my team. I love the trust and responsibility I've got that they all shoulder. And we've got a brilliant squad of players who are so tight and so together and so driven to make sure we had a better outcome this season. And it's a privilege to be the manager, to be honest.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, you know, when I was looking back, I read Patrick Bartley's book on Sir Alex, on Sir Matt Busby, and then obviously you read Sir Alex's books, and the carbon copy is the fact that Sir Matt Busby's team was wingers, get the support into the strikers. Sir Alex Ferguson's teams, all with, you know, obviously he likes that central defence to be difficult to beat, but wingers supply in. I was watching some of the English Premier Leagues in the last couple of weeks. My God, they kind of take a while to get the ball into the box, but your team has that, and you also have somebody I love watching, which is Vassell, who's a real throwback.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah,
I mean, listen, the 2 signings we made last January, Kyle Vassell and Luke Chambers from Liverpool, you know, they didn't single-handedly keep us up, but without them, it would have been far more challenging. Kyle's a man, you know what I mean? He just came in the building, he turns up for his work every day, he's there on a Saturday. You get loads of great training players, but on a Saturday you don't know what you're quite going to get. I know what I'm going to get, and he was a brilliant choice for me to be captain in the summer. I seen the respect he had. It's not something he'd done before, and I think he was a bit surprised by it. But he sets the tone for us. And I've worked with a few boys that I've worked with before, like Marley and Matty Kennedy and these boys. But Vassell was, from day one, along with Luke Chambers, come in and helped us stay in the league. Obviously we couldn't get Luke Chambers back from Liverpool this time around, but keeping Kyle and having there as a focal point, really, because he knows his way about the pitch. I think you ask the majority of centre-halves in the league, they know they're going to have to be stand up to him physically as well, and he's not your 6'2", 6'3" striker. No. I mean, he
looks solid though.
6 foot. I want to take a slap off him. If I'm ever going to drop him, he's going to text. I'm not doing it face to face. I like him, but he's somebody who I've got such a high regard for. He's been so important to me, as they all are, the players. But he's a boy that I think for somebody who's jumped about loads of clubs from, I think he's actually really enjoyed the kind of kind of feeling at home and the responsibility that he's been given on.
Is it testimony to your management skills and your experience as you get older that you've managed to get the best out of him, but also somebody like Marley Watkins? I thought Marley Watkins was a good player, but kind of lost his way a wee bit. And then all of a sudden, people are actually starting to talk about him in a positive light again, which is, you must have something you've been able to get inside his head.
Well, he's at 13, 14 goals. Marley was brilliant for me. I remember my Aberdeen team, it was my last season there, but we started the season like a train. I think we had 38 points by Boxing Day, sitting in third. Marley got injured in the semi-final against Celtic, but Marley took on the responsibility at 9. I had Hedges and Wright as 2 number 10s behind him. The 2 6s were Ferguson and McCrory, and then I had McKennedy and Johnny Hayes as my wing backs.
Yeah.
So they had a bit of everything, but Marley was the most important player in that system in terms of coming towards the ball, securing possession, allowing Hedges and Wright to get past them. But Marley always had the pace as well to stretch teams. Then that would allow Wright and Hedges to get in the 10 and turn and drive at people. He was such a... Do you know what? I think throughout his career, Marley, I tried to sign him when he came for Inverness. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But he has throughout his career had the ability to make the guys round about him better.
Yeah.
A lot of players have benefited from playing with Marley Watkins, and he's always been happier being the support guy. You look at the players that he's played with at different clubs. Ryan Kent's at Barnsley, but even at Aberdeen, Sam Cosgrove gets a brilliant move. Lots of players have benefited from him in the team. First time around, try to get him to Aberdeen for Inverness. They had a good team, Big Yogi's team. Big Yogi doesn't know this, he'll kill me when he sees me. So I'm trying to sign Marley, but because they were going towards the Scottish Cup final, and I said to him, look, I'd like to meet you, but he said, I'll phone Big Yogi. I would always phone another manager. He went, I'm a bit worried about the manager, think I might be distracted, and I want to make sure I play in this cup final. And I'm like, so it went against the grain. I thought, right, I'll meet the boy, and I'll square it off, swear the bears with Big Yogi afterwards. So I'll meet him in, what's the hotel in Inverness? The nice one, we always stay in it at the front. Anyway, staying there. I book a room there through the club, and I said to Marley, right, what time you get there? He says, back at 2. I says, right, I'll book one of the rooms in a level. You park in the car park. The Inverness supporters on the reception, so make sure you don't come in. Come round, I'll open the back door for you. And he said, right, fine. So I'm there, getting the coffee and that ready for him. Big sell. I knew it was a long shot because I knew he had interest in England, but I wanted him at Aberdeen. So got everything ready. He phones me, he says, I'm in the car park now. I says, right, make your way around. I'm in the third thing was you come down the wee path. And if anybody knows the hotel, so I opened the curtains, and you overlook the golf course. Who's on the putting? Yogi and Russell Latipi putting. And I'm going, I bought, trying to phone him, he wasn't picking up. And I'm going, oh my God, he's just going to walk round and see Yogi, Gaffer and Latipi. So I managed to get him, sent him back to the motor. Waited Yogi about 4 putted, I think, on the green. Waited he shot off, and then I get Marley back round. But we never got him. He ended up going to Barnsley, had a brilliant contract offer for them we couldn't compete with at the time. But he was always somebody that I liked, and I thought he was somebody who could play a variety of positions. He's played at wing back through his career, and he's always... But in answer to your question, you know, a lot of people might have been surprised. They might have seen it as a wee bit of a lazy signing at his age. But 13, 14 goals this season, he's been worth his weight in gold.
Yeah, without in any way diminishing what you've achieved with Kilmarnock, which is great, and everybody's singing your praises, in a strange sort of way, because of the great results you've had, you could be pivotal in where the title goes. You've got Rangers, you've managed to beat them, you've managed to beat Celtic.
Are more in control of that. You know, obviously when you get into the post-split fixtures, you know, there's a lot of tough games, and particularly this season now that there is a title race for the first time really in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think obviously we've still got Rangers and Celtic to play, but I think it's foolish to be looking too much at other teams. I think Rangers and Celtic are the ones who have the biggest control of all of what's going to happen for them, and obviously.
What do you make of them? I mean, you're best placed because when a manager is able to beat them. You know, you faced Rangers. They've gone post Michael Beale to a new manager who's come in. What do you make of playing against them?
I think there's a total difference. I noticed that I was covering some of the Rangers games for the European games, and I watched there's a real distinct difference in Clement's team to Michael Beale's teams in terms of how they want to get the ball forward a bit quicker. They play a lot more diagonals. They're a bit more obvious. They're a bit more in your face. Certainly every player knows their job, and there's a responsibility. He wants the back line to play a bit higher than maybe they were playing under Michael Beale. But listen, it's a difficult opponent. I think Clement's done a brilliant job to even get them into consideration, to be honest. Obviously they've dipped a couple of bad results in recent weeks. But, I think it's very tight. I think when any team's going for a title, you're looking for the team to get better at this stage of the season, to kind of grow with the pressure and players to be better performances than maybe what they've been showing. And both teams probably just a wee bit, maybe not quite at that situation.
You've come up against Celtic, and you've had really good results against them. Of course, dare I say it, when I always look back at Tommy Burns used to say on his gravestone it would be Andy Gorham, the amount of times he denied him. You are inextricably linked with Celtic in all the big games that you've come through in your career as a manager. Obviously I'll touch on them with you as a player as well, but this season you seem to have been able to really inflict some pain on them. What's the is it something, a strategy, or is it the fact that they let you play football?
I think it's confidence as well. I think players, my job as a manager, my staff's job is to be the best salesman you can be, particularly when you're coming out against teams with top players and players that can cause you damage. And a lot of my players will have suffered in the past, as I have as a manager against Rangers and Celtic. But the selling point is that we've, to try to say that if we play and we're good enough and we bring a level of performance, then we can make it difficult for these teams. And we've had to do so much right to get positive results against Celtic this season. Brendan's a manager who I hold in such a high regard, and there's obviously, he's still clearly wanting to put his own stamp in this team, and he's a long way from that, from getting the level of players and the signings that he wants in, and he'll get them in the summer, I'm sure. As is Clement at Rangers, he's coming in and he's only made 2 or 3 changes to the team in January. And he's working really well on a manager's squad. So I would expect both managers to implement more their players and their playing style even more next season. But for the here and now, we players should enjoy wrestling with the best players in the country and the best clubs, and we've got to try and, as I say, do that a couple of more times yet this season. And for that, I think the players won't be daunted by it, particularly the position we're in. We've just got to go and try and embrace it.
Before I take you on a trip back in time, I know you're being coy about it. You're in a really good position in 4th. It would be fantastic to finish 4th. It would be great to get European football. My attitude to Scottish football and the clubs out with Celtic and Rangers, I so want them to try and get group stage football. Yeah. I want that injection of cash. I want to see Derek McInnes being able to attract a better player. Yeah. No disrespect to the squad you've got at the moment, but you'll want to supplement that. So it's must do better in Europe. How can we do that? How can we look to your managers like yourself and say, got to do better in Europe? Is it more faith in some of the Scottish talent? Is it all down to cash? Is it all down to recruitment?
It's tough because I think we've probably got our recruitment bob on this year in terms of getting proper value for money. We can only pay so much at Kilmarnock, and I'm really grateful for the budget that's been afforded to me with the board. But I do think that, Aberdeen, we never lost a game that we were favourites in. We were always the underdog in teams that beat us. And it's important for us at Kilmarnock, if we do get into Europe, that we have the confidence to be us and showcase what we are, regardless of what you play against. I think the good thing is, I think we're guaranteed 4 games. So if we finish 4th,
yes.
So if we finish 4th, you get a shot at it to get into the group stages, and if you don't, you drop back into the conference. So there's a real opportunity there. And looking at some of the teams, somebody sent me something the other day about the level of teams you could come up against right away, and you know, exciting, and it's encouraging that you've got an opportunity to kind of mix it with these teams. There's no doubt there's difficulties in overcoming these challenges, but I want us to go and try and set about that task if and when it comes. I'm really reluctant to talk about Europe too much because, and I want to answer your question clearly, and we are on the cusp of it. But whoever we play again in Europe, we've got to try and just be the best version of us. We've shown that we can be a tough opponent this season, home and away, and we've got to try and replicate that regardless of who we play in Europe. But I understand we all need, a lot of clubs have benefited of the fact that Rangers did so well with the coefficient in recent years. Celtic, we've always been dependent on Celtic doing well as for the coefficient. But it is important that clubs like ourselves, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, St Mirren, whoever gets into Europe, Dundee, whatever, have the confidence to try and set about the task, and we'll be no different.
And let me take you back then, because this goes back to Derek McInnes as a young player. And when I was talking about Morton and how you were going to make a move, in my opinion, at that time when you were signed by Walter Smith, I was watching you and I thought, great, I like watching Derek McInnes. I want him to be it. I wanted to see you in that Rangers team on a regular basis. Bloody hell, it was tough. It was tough for Scottish players, you know, and you didn't get as many games as I thought you should have got.
Possibly. I understood the challenge that was there ahead of me. Probably, I know Rangers had been watching me more or less every game, and I knew that when the gaffer signed me that I had his backing. I always felt I had his trust. But there was better players ahead of me. There's no doubt about it. There was guys, established internationals, getting paid way more than me. But I felt as I had the manager's trust. I also culminated in a load of injuries, and I think I got a load of injuries because I do think that the training became really challenging. You know, for me, the training Monday to Friday was tougher than the games. Because of the standard of player you're playing against. You know, no disrespect who we were playing, but I learned and I improved every day in training. But there was also an increase in tempo, an increase on the stresses in your body and all the rest of it. I picked up ankle injuries, knee injuries, hernias, fractured my cheekbone. I had loads of injuries at Rangers that didn't really help me. But I also felt that when I was fit, that I never let the club down. I always tried to repay the manager's trust in signing me and picking me. And probably the 9-0 season was probably the season I played most games, you know, in terms of just because I stayed injury free right up until February when I done my knee, and then the gaffer brought me in for the last game at Tannadice, which was a real surprise after I hadn't hardly trained. So there's no shame. I look back at it now and I think I wish I'd played more and I wish I'd done more. And I think if Walter had been there and he hadn't left, then I probably would have stayed at Rangers longer. But I think there's still life after Rangers. I went on to play abroad and play at West Brom, played for Scotland after that. So I love my time there. But I don't regret. I think I gave it my best shot, I'll be honest with that. And that sits all right with me, to be honest.
Yeah, his photograph's up there because I hold him in such high esteem. I loved my end of season chats with him, coffee, and we'd shoot the breeze on football when I was working at Radio Clyde. And even as a person after that, he was great to me. What was he like as a gaffer?
Brilliant. I will say I didn't have the same relationship with the gaffer as a player as I did as a lot of the other players who'd been with him for years and years and had built so many experiences and history together. But he was always someone, both him and Archie comes a lot in my games, Rugby Park, and I was with him last week. Both him and the gaffer were brilliant in terms of level of support. I always felt that they trusted me. You know, when I signed the Rangers, it was a big deal for my dad as well, and I've said before how specially made that day for my dad as well when I was away doing my medical, giving him the tour and looking after him. I think he sensed it was a big deal for him. So all these wee little touches, he was great. But I think as a manager, I got to know the gaffer a lot more as a manager.
Yeah.
Because he was my first phone call whenever I needed anything. obviously come up against his teams loads of times at St Johnstone, and I just built up a kind of better and stronger relationship as a manager rather than being his player. I think he liked me, and if he did, I liked him a lot more, to be honest. And we still talk about it, we still miss him. It's like, it still doesn't seem right that he's not here. It still doesn't quite sit, and sometimes you have to take a wee check that he actually isn't with us anymore.
Yeah. Let me look at that side that you were in, though. You said it was tough in training. Yeah. How the hell did you survive with the madness of the pranksters that were in that side? I mean, I read a great quote for you at one point. You said you thought you were Ali McCoy's driver.
McCoy still tell anybody and anybody when he get done with his drunk driving. He's a naughty boy, that Ali. He says he got me a year extension so he could drive me in and out of training. And by the way, if that is true, I'll take it. I wasn't going anywhere. But it was a great bunch of boys.
Did they have an influence on you? Because you've mentioned Durant, you've mentioned Gascoigne. I mean, two fantastic players.
I just wanted to be accepted, really. It's like you're going into a dressing room with serial winners, international players, and you just want to be able to be accepted, not for being just a good trainer, a good guy, and their pal. I wanted to make my mark on them and have their trust on them on the pitch. And it bothered me that it took me a long time to really kind of establish myself and play and feel as though I got that confidence. But we had some brilliant times together. It's like day in, day out. There was always something happening. It was box office at Rangers at the time, and it was never always easy because we were up against the challenge from Celtic and Tommy's team in particular. But I think that there was always a feeling that there was a better level of player in the Rangers dressing room, and we get the confidence for that. Plus, we were led brilliantly with the gaffer. But on and off the pitch, there's this. You can't be as it sounds sometimes if it was all unprofessional. They were out every night. We weren't out every night. We stayed in on a Monday.
I have to say to you, by the way, that irked the gaffer.
Aye.
Because Walter used to say to me, you cannot win league titles by partying all the time. These guys knew when to put it in, and then they knew when to...
Yeah, I mean, I've seen players train, your McCoys, your Gascoignes, Goffs, train at such an elite level and knock their pan in. But there was a time to enjoy themselves and a time to, that resonated with me. I didn't have their talent, so I was like constantly that guy battering himself, trying to get the improvement, trying to be stronger, trying to be quicker, trying to be as professional as I could be. But you were always drawn to the nights out and the days out together. But that was encouraged. But it wouldn't have been. It would only have been on the back of winning and working hard.
Yeah.
I spoke to Archie about our training the other day. Some of the stuff that we did in training, pre-season work, that base work, going to Italy, Choco, and it was such a demand. I look at the pre-seasons I'm giving my players now, and I know football's moved on, but it was nowhere near at a level of demand on you. And that's what there was. There was a demand. There was a demand to train right and be as good as you could be, but there was also a demand to be a proper teammate and get yourself out with your teammates when you needed to be. You know, and
Is that brushed off on you now? I mean, as you look at all the managers you've worked with, I know you've worked down south with Gary Megson as well, Walter. Did it have an impact on the way you conduct yourself now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it started to change. I think even in the gaffers last year at Rangers, but then obviously Advocaat comes in, and it was frowned upon a wee bit more. There was more players not going out than going out, and all of a sudden there's a wee group of us who were maybe the kind of not the majority in the dressing room. There was different level of player and professional coming in. There was getting up a level, your Newmans and Van Bronckhorst and all these boys.
Yeah.
And it was frowned upon then a bit too many nights out, and you had to be serious about your work and serious about your training. And it was just a different manager's take on it. Yeah. But I actually think it was going that way.
Did you take to him?
Well, Advocaat? No, really. No. I thought he was more brasher than he needed to be. He had his favourites. He used to tell you, "This is my strongest team."
Yeah.
And he says, if they're fit, they'll play. And Big Alberts wasn't in it. I wasn't in it. There was loads more in it, no in it, but it was Van Bronckhorst, Claudio, Reyna and Barry. Barry thrived under him. Barry, he saw so much in Barry. He was different class, Fergie. A top player, as good a player I've played with. Neil McCann, Rod Wallace, Kanchelskis. If these boys were fit, they played.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I used to say, you are well paid to be ready. And I used to give us the bonus, even if we're sitting in the stand, we still got full bonus.
Wow.
Maybe one of things went wrong, but I mean, the money that the gaffer was getting, I mean, obviously David Murray was backing the Advocaat, and it didn't. I didn't think that he utilised the squad enough or embraced the squad enough, and then he just expected boys to be there for him.
Yeah. You had a few fallouts with him, didn't you?
No, not really.
You don't have to say them one day, you know, about the...
No, I didn't fall out with him. I think I wanted to go on loan, and he refused at first. Eventually I got my loan to Stockport with Gary Megson in the Championship. He then brings me back in January, even though I wanted to stay out. I wasn't convinced I was going to play. But then he sent me a letter. Obviously this has been well documented as well.
Yeah.
I remember Charlie phoned me close season, and he said, I just had a letter for the club saying that after the report with the reserves, I'm no longer part of the first team.
Yeah, that was the point I was making, yeah.
Aye, and I'm like, you're kidding? And I says, no. He says, have you got any post yet? And I said, no. And literally just the postman comes to the house. So it was the same letter. And he's laughing. He's like, thank God it's not just me. But 3 weeks before that, I'd started in the cup final against Celtic.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, we're all throwing him up and celebrating with him.
You should have dropped him.
He didn't even have the, no courage, but the decency to say, look, this is the way we're going to see it for next season. We're going to try and sell you, bring some money in for you, and for you to play regular, go elsewhere. Just an honest, decent conversation.
Yeah.
To hide behind a letter from Laura, the secretary. So I phoned Laura, and she was appalled.
Yeah.
She was having to send these letters out to guys that had done well, and but then trained with the reserves and all the rest of it. But then he invited me back into the first team and part of the fold, and played a few Champions League games after that. But I left in the January. I think the chairman, David Murray, was determined to get some money in for me, rather than just let my contract run down. And I went to Toulouse and, West Rangers well, and we moved on. But I never ever felt important enough to Advocate. And I think it's important for me as a manager that to make all your players feel important. Obviously it's difficult because you can only pick 11 every week. Yeah. But having those conversations with players who are not playing every week and try to make them feel inclusive, try to make them feel valued. And I do think, and I've still got above my board before I go out, make them feel important. It's the last thing I look at before I go out every day. And I recognised that how I felt when a manager took the time to, for 5 minutes, just a word, and to show that they gave a shit about you, and they came in, and how that meant everything to me. But I also remember how it felt the other way when a manager couldn't even talk to you, and so I don't want to be that guy. So you learn off everybody. So even the managers I didn't particularly get on with, that you learn off them how you don't want to be. Yeah, absolutely. Just before we talk about you as a manager now, just as a player, I looked at your career, and obviously you mentioned you went away to Toulouse, and then you obviously ended up at West Brom. I did look at the Battle of Bramall Lane, and I thought, by God, not only were you front and centre, you've scored a screamer of a goal, and then your man stuck the head in you. It was such a mental game, wasn't it? It was. Do you know what? It's a stain on English football, that game. It really is, because the reason you're even mentioning it now is because how unusual it was. I've got my own thoughts on it, and I don't want to dredge anything up, but there was people at Sheffield United that day who were a disgrace. They were. But it was a difficult fixture for us. We were chasing, Man City were going to win the league, but we were chasing that second spot for promotion, and we were on such a good run at the time. Sheffield United away, traditionally a hard game, but we were just making sure the performance was good. I was actually more terrified, the guy that started heading me, from Gary Megson, because we had been out on the Tuesday, Wednesday was our day off. We went down to Cheltenham. We used to go to Cheltenham, because it's only on the doorstep, 40 minutes away. So we went to Cheltenham, so me and a few of the lads, and it was nothing mad. It was a couple of beers, all the rest of it. But there was seemingly some sort of trouble going on, and it was seemingly mentioned to the gaffer that there was a load of West Brom boys there. So he pulls me on the Thursday. What you doing, you clowns? Give me pelters. I want to get everybody round that centre circle, start training. I want to aboard with. So there's about 10 of us had went. So we're all in the centre circle, and the gaffer says, right, I want to know, everybody take a step forward. Who I thought it was a good idea to go to Cheltenham yesterday? Who was at Cheltenham? So I stepped forward because I knew I was there. And Andy Johnson stepped forward, my mate Andy Johnson, and nobody else. All the boys were terrified. And I'm like, here we go. And I went, right, there'll be no more said about it if we win on Saturday. If we win at Sheffield United, there'll be no more said about it. If we don't win on Saturday, I'm coming for you on Monday. So I was terrified about that because, do you know what, even if he walked in now and told me to do 100 press-ups, I would do it. They wouldn't be great press-ups, but I would do what he told me because he just had that power and control, really, over all of us. And so you'll see my celebration, you probably don't, you'll see me running away as if I'm hitting a horse.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was.
And he's laughing his bollocks off in the dugout. And it was just relief that was probably going. And then it all blew up. Players getting doing injury, feigning injury for me. They were trying to smash us. They were trying to get red cards left, right and centre. Yeah. We were actually praying with Eddie Wilson's-home, who was actually Kenneth Wilson's-home brother.
Wow.
You know, the famous commentator.
Yeah.
Eddie pleading with him not to send players off, just to get the game finished.
The Sifo boy had to go though. It was a clear headbutt on you.
Aye. Right, and it banged to rights right in front of the referee. So I've still got a wee scar there. But I remember the game and I remember the goal, and I get asked about it a lot. But it was an unsavoury afternoon. But it was also a brilliant performance from us as well, and it gave us a wee. We went on a brilliant run towards the end of that campaign, and to win promotion to the Premiership in England was brilliant. That was a great campaign.
Yeah.
And that was a manager who runs the life out of all of us. He get performances out of me that I didn't think I was capable of, and also others. It was top management. It really was. He was different class.
A strange one though that I mean, did McCall, give you the big sell to get to Dundee United? Because you did. You got to the cup final. I mean, he had some good. He's good players in that team.
Do you know what? It was Jack, my oldest boy, was ready to start school. We'd always said, my wife and I, that we'd maybe come back. Then we'd been relegated the following season at West Brom. I had a year left. The gaffer had offered me a 2-year extension. We were really settled at West Brom. I loved the club and where we were living and stuff like that. And then Ian McCall offered me a 3-year deal on really good money at Dundee United. Craig Levine offered me a 2-year deal at Hearts, and I was tempted by that, and I asked my agent if he could try and get a 3rd year, and Craig wouldn't give me the 3rd year. And I think it was Craig, would it have been that? And he just said, look, I said, if Dundee United can give me this deal, a 3-year deal, I'll come, and they did, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, and I was going to a dressing room with Charlie was saying he was bending me ear to try and get up.
Yeah.
And we had a brilliant dressing room.
United fans love Charlie.
No wonder. I love Charlie. We all love Charlie.
Unbelievable.
Aye. The best line about Charlie, Mark Haley, in it. He says he was the best 17-year-old he's ever saw, but the worst 18-year-old. Charlie, for me, he's my wee pal. He was probably, and I say that with that litter of talent, a rare talent at Rangers. He was probably the player who impressed me most when I first went to Rangers. Those first 2 or 3 weeks at training, and I thought, my God, how good is he? He's miles better than I thought he was. And I know he was young and he had all the potential. He had everything, Charlie. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the change of pace, he had the strength, the callousness, 2 feet, balance, the finish. And he had so much talent. What a player he was.
Yeah, fantastic. Let me talk about you as a manager. What's the difference between Derek McInnes in the early days? I've known you for years, but the St Johnstone where you're starting out to now, what's been the... Is that a change in ethos? Is that a change in mentality? Is that a change in the way you wanted to play football from the young Derek McInnes to now?
I don't think there is. I think there's still the same sort of principles how we want to work. I think never have a lazy day, don't accept bad practice. work with players who want to improve, be demanding but also be understanding. I want to be able to wake up in the morning and can't wait to get to work. That's where I am at the minute.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to my work. But I want my players to feel that as well.
Were you like that at St Johnstone and Aberdeen?
Aye, I was.
Yeah.
I was. And I think at St Johnstone, I had the benefit of the surprise really of being offered a job to be a player manager, because I wasn't expecting it when Coyley left to go to Burnley. I mean, Jeff Brown asked me to be the manager. It was a wee bit of a shock. He'd asked for a chat at McDermott on the Monday after we'd won the Challenge Cup final at Dens. He'd asked if I'd come up and have a chat with him. And on the way up to McDermott's was at 7 o'clock at night. The 7 o'clock news come up just as I'm getting to Broxton roundabout. And it's local news, and it was St Johnstone set to unveil the new manager tomorrow. So I thought even going up there that maybe Jeff was just saying to me, look, just to fill me in as captain, this is who our new manager is. It was him offering me the job, but he'd already announced he was unveiling his new manager. So he just assumed that I was taking it.
You're definitely taking it.
So he's like, I've been watching you for a distance, you're more than ready, I trust you, I want you to lead the club. So it was a huge surprise because I think I applied for it. I was still playing. I was on the pro licence. I was going through my badges. I'd completed all my mail licence and stuff, but I still wasn't something I was thinking about, to be honest. But I was going into a dressing room who were all my mates.
Yeah.
So it was probably a kind of good transition, and a lot of maybe the things that I thought we could be doing better, and Coyle had done a good job with the team. Just little things. That I maybe had that added insight to it because I was a player. But
was it difficult to talk to your mates?
a wee bit. No, not so much difficult. It got to the stage where I took myself out. I only picked myself once, and I took myself out of being a player. I think the club needed me to be better as a manager than I was as a player, and I needed my focus. Plus, I also think that the players needed to see me as not just Dell picking the team. They needed to see me as the manager, and I felt that giving up playing was going to be a big step towards that. But I let go of boys that I travelled with, and they were tough decisions at the end of the season where I knew exactly what I wanted from my team. I wanted more pace at the back. I wanted us to be able to play a high line. I wanted us to be aggressive, high press. I wanted us to play with wingers. I knew what I wanted for the team, and unfortunately, as a consequence of that, I had to let pals go. And I always remember...
Are they still pals?
Aye, they are. They weren't there for a while, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always remember speaking to Walter about it, and he said to me, look, if you can do the ones early on, the ones letting your mates go, every other one will be easier after that. And he said, but if it feels 100% right thing to do, you've got to do it. And I did. I let boys go who I travelled with in the car and had known for years, knew their families, pals.
Well, that must have been tough.
But we won the league in my first full season, and it was 100%. Every decision I made was all about trying to use the budget that I had, and we didn't run awash with money at St Johnstone. But a brilliant relationship, I thought Jeff Brown and Stuart Duff, the chief executive, moulded me and shaped me and helped me become not just the manager on the plane, the training side, but also kind of brought me into their kind of inner sanctum and guided me. I've got so much to thank them for. Jeff was, it was we had a board, but there was no board meetings. A board meeting was him coming in, take me to the Glover Arms up the road. He's like, McInnes, you'll take me for lunch, sit for 3 or 4 hours, talking about chewing the fat, what you want, and everything was a yes or a no. He just said, just ask me if you want to do anything. Normally it was a no with Jeff, because it normally meaning spending money. But it was a great apprenticeship for me, a great understanding, and I had their experience to call upon. They were brilliant, so supportive of me.
One of my old bosses used to say, Peter, sometimes it's better being lucky than good. I look sometimes at the components that you're talking about the places you've been. For me, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, you've been really lucky because you've had really good chairman, nice board, good club, good structure, trust in you, and of course it's easy to see how it works both ways. You go to Aberdeen and you've equally got a good chairman, a good owner. Yeah,
I think they're luckier than what I was lucky at. But no, it fitted with Jeff, and He was very experienced, and he ran the club, and it was him.
Yeah.
It was the manager and chairman, Stuart Milne, at Bristol City as well. In between, we went down and we kept him up. It was a hopeless situation they were in.
Yeah.
I actually look back now and think, why did I take the job at the time? They were bottom of the league, 10 points adrift for second.
But I had a chat with you at that time. I remember chatting with you, and you know, just towards before it ended for you, I remember you saying, you know, everything that I'd done had been forgotten, and then it just looked as if I was being, you know, the rug was being taken from underneath me.
It was, totally. And listen, it was a great experience for me, but I would rather have, I should have made a better choice. I think it was, you're always conscious that your star is going that way. We'd got St Johnstone to the top 6. We were doing away fine and doing away well, and then the opportunity came in. I had a couple of opportunities to leave before then.
Yeah.
But the owner was brilliant, but he lived abroad. Steve Lansdowne, successful guy, Hargreaves Lansdowne, worth about 800 million, whatever, wealthy guy, lived in Guernsey, flew in for the games, flew out, couldn't get the same relationship, and it was like 4 or 5 people at the club, all posturing for power, and there was nobody really in charge. So I do see that importance for a manager to have that relationship and contact with the key decision maker.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to point out something to you. You're going to get angry with me. You're Aberdeen manager. You built a team. You've sometimes had to build 2 or 3 teams at Aberdeen and get it the way you want. There is a moment when I thought you could have won the league.
You know something? I remember our budget never really moved too much at Aberdeen, but we had built a team. There was a combination of that team, your Ryan Jacks and your Kenny McLean's and Adam Rooney's, Johnny Hayes, Niall McGuinness, and you know there was a team there who we felt not flat track bullies, but we were beating mostly every other team.
2015, 2016,
Yep.
September, you're top of the table.
Danny Ward in goals, we brought him for Liverpool, was outstanding. We'd Adam Rooney flying at number 9, 20 odd goals. And we, as a club, we didn't do enough in the January window. I still rankles me a wee bit. Somebody at the club in such a position, maybe just come and say, look, Derek, what an opportunity we've got here. Is there anything we can do for you? Is there anything? It was almost as if if this is miles better than what it's been.
Yes.
Everybody was enjoying the moment. But there was a real opportunity.
I thought Ronnie Dyler's side, no disrespect, they were not a Celtic side. I knew it in the background. I knew there were players that were not happy, they were not fit. There was lots of things going on in the background.
Measure.
So did I.
I thought we were as close to a Celtic team than we'd ever been. But listen, I still think they won the league with 90 odd points. I still think they were in 90 odd points. That wins a league. There's a recognition that Celtic did their job well the last part of the campaign. But at that stage, around about January, we lost Danny Ward. I remember watching a League Cup game, Liverpool against Exeter, I think, and the goalies were having a nightmare, and Klopp was having issues. And I'm thinking, surely not. And I watched my wee boy playing in Johnston Sunday morning. There's Liverpool phoning my phone, last day of January. We're recalling Danny Ward. And it was such a blow for us, because we couldn't replace like for like at that stage. We also, 2 days later, lost Adam Rooney to a thigh injury that ruled him out for the rest of the campaign.
And you in.
So I lost my number 9 and my number 1, and you know yourself, and any manager will tell you, 1s and 9s can turn draws into wins and defeats into draws.
Who did you ask for in January then? You must have sat down with them and said, listen.
No, there wasn't really those conversations. There was not a lot wrong about the team, but when I look back now about how strong a position the club was in, you know, could they have thrown more money at it? Could they have seen the sense, the opportunity, and maybe actually lifting a title? Yeah. I always believed, and I still believe, that a club out with the Old Firm can have a special campaign that can. I genuinely believe that can be done. I think it's more and more challenging now. Pre-Bosman, it was easier for like Sir Jim McLean and Sir Alex to keep players. Sir Alex was paying players the same way Rangers and Celtic were paying players.
Yeah. He
was signing players for 500, 600, 700 grand. He was signing the best players from all over Scotland, the best players in each team. And pre-Bosman, you could keep players for a long time. I mean, Wally Mullin and Alan McLeish, you would never have kept them all that length of time.
Well, the funny thing is, and you'll know this from up there, last couple of weeks, I get pelters from a few Dons fans, west of Scotland.
What's that like?
Well, I was just... Exactly, the West of Scotland bias, and I said, listen, calm your jets. If it wasn't for the West of Scotland, Aberdeen wouldn't have had a history. You know, I could rhyme off 9 players that suddenly were in that squad that gave them their glory days. But from your point of view, I looked at it. Some people say, okay, he won one League Cup, but he could have won so much more. I just thought, like you, the title was there to take it off Celtic. But the other thing about it, I also think, is...
Well, we're never in the box seat for that. We were never favourites.
No.
We were close, and it was always going to be a big ask. We needed everything to kind of go well. We needed everything to be perfect. We needed to keep key players fit. And I remember there was a kind of moment, I think we were at Rugby, Fir Park, and the Celtic played an early kick-off, I think, at Rugby Park, and we'd heard that Kilmarnock were beating Celtic. And then just before we went out the tunnel, we'd heard Rogers just scored 93rd minute 2-1 win. I think it was. I might be wrong with that. And I was like, oh. And we lost at Motherwell that day. I remember I sent Barry Robson on at 1 each to calm things down, put your foot in the ball. 90 seconds later, he'd been sent off for throwing an elbow into Scott McDonald, who was his pal, by the way. And he's walking by me 90 seconds later, and I've told him to calm things down. And there was a wee moment, Motherwell scored late on, beat us 2-1. And there was a wee swing that day, and we never really recovered from it that day. But I don't think we were ever truly. I don't think everybody truly believed that we could win the league, but we thought that we could push it more to get to that final part of the season. But losing Danny, losing Adam, it just kind of fizzled out towards the end. And getting back to Aberdeen is a brilliant club. It offers so much opportunity for managers like me and for players. We had so many opportunities to win more trophies. We were a good side. We had a lot of good players. I look at the international team now, when it's Ryan Jack, Kenny McLean, McKenna, Ryan Christie, Lewis Ferguson. We have the players who have got a lot to thank Aberdeen for. But it still rankles we never won more, and we could have, with a bit of luck, maybe could have won another trophy or two. But how do you gauge success? It's millions of pounds worth of prize money, transfer fees, players going on to develop into international players. But for supporters and staff like ourselves who are just eager to lift silverware, I'm gutted we never managed to lift more, to be honest.
A couple of things before we finish, but I'm glad you did say that one thing, which is there is an opportunity for a side. It's a tight window. It's a 1 and 2 year window where you have a team that you assemble that has to punch above its weight. But I still believe that I want that competition. I want to see a Kelly, a Hibs, a Hearts.
It's more difficult, but Peter, now, because you know what it's like. It's like Rangers and Celtic are struggling to hold on to their best players now.
Yeah.
For clubs like, even that Tony Mowbray's team at Hibs, that team got broken up pretty quickly as well. And if I had managed to keep that Aberdeen team for another 2 or 3 years, if I could paid Ryan Jack and Niall McGinn and Kenny McLean and Scott, all these boys, the wages that they went on to earn, if I could have been able to be in that position, then they could have hung about Aberdeen a wee bit longer. They might have just been able to have that, but it's so difficult for clubs to have it. But I still believe that maybe you can have a special season, you get a special group of players, and you just bring it all together that can maybe just scare the old firm a wee bit more than what it's been of late.
Yeah. Any regrets about not taking the Rangers job?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I had to ask you because there was a point where somebody...
I'm not answering. I'm not getting into that.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got so many family and close friends who know my reason, Rangers supporters who know my reasons for not taking the job, and I will tell my story one day, but it's not for now.
Yeah. It's one of those moments in your life, it's a sliding doors moment. You stay at Aberdeen, and at the way it ended at Aberdeen, I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, well, where does Derek go now then?
Do you know what? I think it's difficult. I think it never, for managers, the secret is probably to get out at the right time and jump when your stars thing right. But sometimes it doesn't end well for managers. The majority of the time it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
And I had 8 years there that I'm really grateful for. The majority of the time was a brilliant time, and I think sometimes that gets forgotten.
Do you think that at the tail end there was a stigma where people are looking saying, I don't think you're a negative manager, but it was kind of a...
Aye. The people start to pick holes and things like that, and the voices get louder.
Yeah.
And listen, I totally get it. It's like, it's a long time for a manager. It's too long for a manager to be at one club. It is. It is too long. And I see that now. But I enjoyed the break. I was ready for the break. I felt recharged. You know, I still feel young as a manager. I still have the same enthusiasm. You mentioned earlier about the same... What's the difference between managing St Johnstone and what you are now, 15, 16 years on? It's still the same sort of sense of privilege, but it's also the same sense of importance of the job. I love Monday to Friday, but 3 o'clock on a Saturday is the best time of the week. I love it. And to be honest, it's something that the enthusiasm's there. Jurgen Klopp, I remember him saying something a couple of years ago. He said, you've got to really want to do the job. You've got to really want to do it. And I would say that to any manager out there. If all of a sudden your heart's not in it and everything seems a bit more difficult and you get tough times, recognise that's the job and you've got to really want to do it, because if you don't, people will pick up on it. And I still really want to do the job.
Okay, give me an honest answer on this one then, because obviously Rangers is a book deal when you eventually talk about it. Does Derek McInnes want to be a Scotland manager one day?
I do, aye. I would love to. Obviously we're in good hands at the minute and things are going well, and there's a brilliant, fantastic group of players that Stevie's managed to utilise well. But of course, absolutely, I'm a proud Scotsman. I want to manage my country. You know, I feel there's still a lot to do for me, and ticking that box would be fantastic. But there's about 200, 300 other managers that would want the same. So I recognise that things have got to be going right at the right time.
Okay, here's my 5 quick fire to finish with. The best player you've played with?
Gaza.
The best player you've played against and you thought, he's given me an absolute doing?
See, I don't know if I would say the best player I played against. There was a number of them, but probably other players gave me more of a doing. Roberto Baggio.
That's a good call. You're in the car. You've got you driving. You've got to pick 3 people, living or dead, male or female, in a road trip round the west coast of America. Who are you taking?
My dad would be in the front seat, because I never did enough with him. We lost him early.
You can have famous people as well.
I know I'm going to. No bringing,
to keep you and your dad company.
I'm not bringing any old crap with me. You know, I toss between Billy Connolly and Kevin Bridges, because both very funny boys, funny guys. Either of those two would be in there for the humour, and for stories. I'm quite interested in all the kind of CIA and FBI stuff, that people who know everything.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody at the head of FBI or CIA or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a former president of the United States.
Yeah. I had Obama in mind.
Aye, Obama or a Clinton or somebody who knows.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on.
Yeah, quite like a Clinton, though. The stories would be
Aye,
absolutely red hot.
Aye, exactly.
And knowing you as I do from our nights, seeing you at many a nightclub, 3 songs that you'd play in that car, 3 songs you'd never get tired.
Oh, I wish you'd prepared me for this.
You've got a good musical taste.
I know, I love my music. There would definitely be an Oasis song in there.
Right.
Because of the era side of it, and takes you back to that time. There'd be a Wet 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 song in there as well.
Wow.
Wet Wet Wet. used to go and watch them all over, and then got to meet the lads a few times as well. So that's quite nostalgic from my teenage years.
Right.
Oasis from my 20s, and there'd be an Elvis song in there as well, because my dad was always listening to Elvis in the house, so a number of Elvis songs. It could be any of the Elvis songs.
Okay, and to finish the whole thing off, the one that will give you the most grief, because people will phone you, give me your 5-a-side team. You playing with a goalie, or are you doing swapsies?
No, the goalie would be in goals, absolutely. So it'd be Andy, it would be Coisty, it'd be Gaza, Loudrup, and me.
I'm happy. I'm happy you picked yourself.
Nobody else has picked me. Nobody else has picked me.
And when I say goodbye to you now, get ready for the phone call from Charlie Miller.
I know.
I can't believe it.
Charlie can cut the oranges.
All right, brilliant. Listen, Derek, it's been a joy. I wish you every success with Kilmarnock and Scotland.
Good man.
Top
Cheers.
man.
Thanks, Peter.